Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the geography questions of UPSC Prelims examination in year 2020. We are going to discuss about from which area, which part of the geography questions have been largely asked. We are going to discuss in details about what is the correct answer, which is the correct option, and the explanation behind that. So the first question is related to the world geography. The map-based questions regarding the major or important rivers of the world has been asked. And here in this particular question, you have to match the given rivers along with the sea where these rivers finally drain in. So first question is with regard to the river Mekong. Mekong is a very important river in the Southeast Asia, and it says that Mekong flows into the Andaman Sea. Thames River, that is in UK, flows into the Irish Sea. Volga River, one of the most important river of Russia, that flows into Caspian Sea, and Zambezi River flows into the Indian Sea. And which of the given pair above are or is correctly matched? So in this particular question, the correct answer is C. That is only third and fourth pairs are correctly matched. That is the first Mekong and Thames are incorrect. So let us take a look at the map of these rivers. So if you look at the first of all, we have Zambezi River. So as you can see, Zambezi River somewhere originate in the Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the nations countries in Africa. Then it flows through different nations such as Zambia, Malawi, and finally it drains into the Mozambique Channel, which is part of the Indian Ocean. So that is why Mozambique in the Indian Zambezi River in the Indian Ocean, that is the correct answer. Second, if you look at the Thames River. So Thames River originates from England and then it drains into here somewhere between England and France. That is, you can say roughly slightly to the upward of English Channel. And this water body is part of the North Sea. So Thames River does not flow into Irish Sea, rather it flows into the North Sea. Third is the Mekong River. So Mekong River originates somewhere from China, flows all across Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and finally it drains into the South China Sea. If you take a look here at the map, Andaman Sea is situated to the west of Thailand, while this Mekong River is draining in the South China Sea. So this match the following of Mekong and Andaman Sea, that is also incorrect. And last, if we take a look at the Volga River, so Volga River originates from here, flows all the way up to this region where it receives water from another important river of Russia, Don River, and after taking water from this Don River, it finally drains into the Caspian Sea. So the correct answer obviously will be C, third and fourth. The second question is related to the what we can say is the economic part of geography, where the question has been asked about the steel slag. So the question is that steel slag can be material for which of the following? That means indirectly it is asking that in this 1, 2, and 3, which of the purpose steel slag can be used for? So construction of base roads, improvement of agricultural soil, and production of cement. So first of all, what is steel slag? Steel slag basically is a byproduct of purification process when the steel is being produced. So steel is produced from two major minerals. One is iron ore and second is coal. So whatever impurities are there, when they are separated out, this impure part is called as steel slag. So steel slag is used for the construction in all the three activities. It can be used for the construction of base roads because of their aggregate and the granular nature. They're used for construction of embankments, engineered fields, highway shoulders, and hot mix asphalt pavement. If we talk about the improvement of agricultural soil, there also steel slag can be used because steel slag can be used as a fertilizer and they help in correcting the soil acidity. That means if the soil is very acidic in nature, steel slag helps in minimizing or decreasing the acidity of soil. The reason behind is very simple, because steel slags are made up of calcium and magnesium silicates, and these silicates have neutralizing action because they have silicate base present inside. So the steel slag also has been used as low cost source to supply silica to the rice plant. So that is why it can be used as a material for improving the soil of the land for better agricultural productivity. Third is production of cement. So as we discussed right now, that iron, steel, slag products are used in variety of area, and majority of this demand come from the field of cement. And if you look at the data, approximately 40% of iron, steel, slag products and 60% of blast furnace slags are used in cement. Again, the reason is behind is very simple, They are made up of calcium and magnesium materials, which are beneficial for the production of the cement. So the correct answer is D, 1, 2, and 3. Third question again is similar to the second question, and here question has been asked regarding the coal ash. Now, coal ash is the byproduct when the coal is being burned in the industrial processes, and the first statement is that coal ash contains arsenic, lead, and mercury. Second is coal fired power plants release sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides into the environment, and third is high ash content is observed in the Indian coal. So if we take a look at all the options, we can say that all the three options are correct here, because coal ash definitely contains harmful chemicals such as arsenic, lead, mercury, and even cadmium is present in the coal ash. Second, obviously, when the coal is being burned, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are produced into the environment. And as far as the Indian coal is concerned, they have a high ash content, and it is due to this reason the calorific value of Indian coals become relatively lesser as compared to the other countries. For example, many times steel industries of India, they do not get the high quality coking coal for their steel production, and that is why the Indian steel companies are dependent upon countries such as Australia and Indonesia for supplying them coking coal or coal having lower ash content. So that is why the 1, 2, and 3, the D is the correct answer for this particular question. Fourth question is related to biochar. Now, biochar is something that is again, it is produced by burning of wood, and the first statement is the biochar can be used as a part of growing medium in the vertical farming. Now, vertical farming refers, first of all, you talk about biochar. So biochar, if we have to define it, it is a high carbon fine grained residue that is produced via pyrolysis. It is a direct thermal decomposition of biomass in the absence of oxygen, because absence of oxygen prevents combustion. And due to this pyrolysis in the absence of oxygen, what happens? A mixture of solid that is called as the proper biochar, a part of liquid that is called as bio oil, and gas which is called as syngas is produced. So that is what biochar is all about. Now, if you look at the biochar, it says that it can be used as a part of growing medium in vertical farming. Now, vertical farming refers to the method where the large area, horizontal area, is not used for cultivation of crops or producing any kind of agricultural crops. Rather, the vertical section of a landmass or vertical section of what you can say a building can be used for the production of agricultural crops. So it can definitely be used as part of growing medium in vertical farming. Second is when biochar is part of the growing medium, it promotes the growth of nitrogen fixing microorganisms. That is also correct. And the reason behind is very, very simple, because biochar, when it is being used as a fertilizer, it increases the percentage of nitrates and calcium, nitrates and phosphates in the soil, and due to the presence of high quantity of nitrate in the soil, nitrogen fixing microorganisms start to grow in the soil. So that second statement is also correct. Third statement is when biochar is part of the growing medium, it enables the growing medium to retain water for a longer period of time. This statement is also correct, because if you look at the biochar, they have ability to retain water and nutrients in the soil horizon for a longer period of time, and due to this they benefit the agriculture by reducing the nutrients that can be lost due to the leaching from the crop root zone, and thus potentially improves the crop yield, and also it reduces the requirement of fertilizer, because if the nutrients are able to be retained in the biochar in the upper layer of soil for longer period of time, obviously the fertilizer requirement will go down. So the correct option for this particular question will be D, 1, 2, and 3. All the three statements given here are totally correct. The fifth state question is related again to the agriculture, and one of the major what we can say practices that is being utilized in the different part of India in the agriculture is the zero tillage. So question is about zero tillage, that what is or are the advantages of the zero tillage in agriculture. The three statements are given. First of all, we have the sowing of wheat is possible without burning the residue of the previous crop. Second is without the need for nursery of rice saplings, direct seeding of the paddy seeds in the wet soil is possible. And third is carbon sequestration in the soil is possible. Now, carbon sequestration basically refers to the absorption of the carbon from the soil, and then it can be taken out from the soil. So if you look at this particular question, Again, here all the three given statement, first, second, and third is correct. So let us take a look at the zero tillage. What is zero tillage? So zero tillage farming is basically an agriculture practice, and in this particular practice, the topsoil of the field is not tilled. Now, what is tilling? Tilling basically refers to by use of plow when before sowing any kind of seeds, any kind of crop, when you try to mix the upper layer of soil so that there is a good aeration, there is a good movement of water, and then the crop is sowed. So that is something that is not done in zero tilling. And after harvesting a specific crop, and new crop, when it is being grown, when it is being sown in the next season, is sown within the remnants of the previous crop. And this method is especially important in India, especially northwestern India, because there is in winter there is instances of stubble burning that causes massive environmental pollution. So if we are able to follow zero tillage practices, the stubble burning requirement will not be there, and thus the environment pollution that we see in the parts of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi will be relatively low or less. Second is zero tilling farming is also called as no tillage or direct drilling farming. And in this process, growing of crops or pasture is being done without disturbing the soil through tillage. And the soil is left undisturbed except at the placement of seeds in the desired position for the germination. The zero tillage farming practice was basically began by a Japanese farmer by the name of Masanobu Fukuoka. He is basically credited with pioneering this practice of zero till farming. So obviously the first statement is correct because we have just seen that without burning the residue of the previous crop, the new crop can be sown. Second is without the need for the nursery of rice sapling, direct planting of paddy seeds in the wet soil is possible. That is also correct, as we have seen. The DSR method, as we call it, the direct seeding of rice method, can be used with the zero tillage. And third is carbon sequestration in the soil is possible. Obviously, the carbon can be absorbed from the soil in this kind of practices. The sixth question is related to the national policy on biofuels in India, which was released in year 2018. And as per this policy, the question asks that which of the following materials can be used as a raw material for the production of biofuels. So six options are given: cassava, damaged wheat grains, groundnut seeds, horse gram, rotten potatoes, and sugar beets. So if you look at national policy on biofuels, we can see that first, second, fifth, and sixth are or can be used as raw material, while groundnut seeds or horse grams cannot be used as raw material for biofuels. If you take a look at this particular policy, as we have discussed, it was released in year 2018, and the most important feature of this policy is that it gave an indicative target of 20% blending of ethanol in petrol and 5% blending of biodiesel in diesel by the year 2030. And within this policy, it was also the policy basically expanded the scope of raw material for production of ethanol by allowing use of materials such as sugarcane juice, sugar containing material like sugar beet, sweet sorghum, starch containing materials like corn, cassava, damaged food grains like wheat, broken rice, rotten potatoes, which are unfit for human consumption for the ethanol production. Not only that, the policy also allows the use of surplus food grains for the production of ethanol for blending with petrol with the approval of National Biofuel Coordination Committee. So, by looking at this particular statement, we can clearly see that all these four, cassava, damaged food crop like wheat grain, rotten potatoes, and sugar beets, can be used as raw material, while groundnut seeds and horse gram are not mentioned in the policy to be used as a raw material. So, correct option obviously will be A, 1, 2, 5, and 6 only. The seventh question again is related to the field of agriculture, where the question is asked with reference to the pulse production in India. Consider the following statements. The first is the black gram can be cultivated as both kharif and rabi crop. Green gram alone accounts for nearly half of the pulse production. And in the last 3 decades, while the production of kharif pulses has increased, the production of rabi pulses has decreased. So if we take a look at all these three statements, we can say that statement A is the only correct option, and second and third is incorrect. So correct answer will be A. Obviously, the reason is very simple. Black gram, we obviously know, can be cultivated as both kharif and rabi crops. Green gram does not account for half of pulse production because the type of grams that we produce in India is very high number, and that is why gram itself contribute to 40% of the total pulse production. So if all the grams collectively if they are contributing to 40% of pulse production, green gram obviously alone cannot account for half of the pulse production. That is why this statement is completely incorrect. Third is, in the last 3 decades, while the production of kharif pulses increased, the production of rabi pulses has decreased. So if you look at a data that has been released by the government of India, we can see that there is no definite and clear trend in the increase or decrease of kharif pulses vis-a-vis rabi pulses. Sometimes the kharif pulses has increased, sometimes the rabi pulses has increased. So that is why this statement is also incorrect. So correct answer is A, option 1. Again, the eighth question is related to the agriculture, and here the properties or characteristics of a crop is given. The crop is subtropical in nature. Subtropical means it is grown beyond 30-degree latitude, we can say north and south. Second is, hard frost is injurious to it. Third statement is, it requires at least 210 frost-free days and 50 to 100 centimeters of rainfall. So four statements, as you can see, are given with related to this particular crop, and in last it is given a light, well-drained soil that is capable of retaining moisture is ideally suitable for the cultivation of the soil. Now, which of the following crop is being discussed here or being talked about? So, cotton, jute, sugarcane, and tea. So, obviously, jute we can eliminate because jute require a huge amount of water and it basically develops and grows in flooded areas. And the best area for cultivation jute obviously is the West Bengal in India and Bangladesh nearby. Sugarcane also cannot be the option because sugarcane also requires huge volume of water and it is a very water intensive crops. So 50 to 100 centimeter rainfall is not sufficient for sugarcane. Third is, if we talk about tea, tea is a crop that do not have to do anything with the frost free days and it does not care about frost free. It does not have to do anything with the frost free days. So the only option that is correct here that can be discussed about here or that is being discussed about here is the cotton, because this is the most important characteristic of cotton. It required 210 forest free days and developed in the subtropical areas. If hard frost is being observed in a particular area, it is injurious to this particular crop. And cotton, as you know, it develops in the black soil, and the most important characteristic of black soil is that it has a very strong moisture retention capacity, and that is why the fifth statement, a light well drained soil capable of retaining moisture is ideally suitable for the cultivation of the crop. So here the soil that is being talked about is obviously the black soil, and thus the cotton is the obvious answer. So the correct option is A, cotton. Ninth is again related to agriculture, where the question has been asked with reference to the trends in the cultivation of sugarcane in India. Consider the following statements. A substantial saving in seed material is made when bud chip settings are raised in nursery and transplantation in the main field. When direct plantation of sets is done, the germination percent is better with single budded sets as compared to sets with many buds. Third is, if the bad weather conditions prevail when sets are directly planted, single budded sets have better survival as compared to large sets. And fourth is, sugarcane can be cultivated using settings prepared from the tissue culture. So again, this is very difficult question. It is very detailed understanding of the sugarcane plantation is required, which is generally not given in the basic standard books. And for this, you have to be very aware about the current development that is happening in the field of sugarcane cultivation. And in some articles of Kurukshetra and Yojana, the related topics has been discussed. So the correct answer for this particular question is C. 1 and 4 is the only correct option. Second statement and third statement is incorrect. But before talking about that, let us try to understand this particular term, that what is a bud chip setting. So bud chip setting or bud chip technique involves separating the buds alone from the cane and planting seedlings raised from the buds in a nursery using a small plastic cups or trays. After chipping away buds, the remaining canes can be sold to derive income. So that is how the bud chip setting used for cultivation of sugarcane. So obviously, if only a part of the cane is being used for transplantation for the growth of the next crop season, so obviously a substantial saving in the seed material can be made because we are taking the final product and taking the seed from the same final product. So first statement is correct. Second is, when direct planting of sets is done, the germination percentage is better with single budded sets as compared to sets with many buds. This is incorrect because as per the experiment that has been done, it is observed that the germination percentage is higher with the many budded set or poly budded sets as compared to single budded sets. Third is, if bad weather conditions prevail when sets are directly planted, single budded sets have better survival as compared to large sets. This is incorrect. Again, the larger sets have higher probability of surviving. And fourth is sugarcane can be cultivated using seedlings prepared from tissue culture. This is absolutely correct. This is given in the NCRTs as well. If you look at the NCRTs, the crop chapter of class 10th NCRT, there this line has been mentioned. So correct option is C, 1 and 4 only. 10th is with reference to solar water pumps. Consider the following statement. Solar water pump, solar power it is talking about, can be used for running surface pumps and not for submersible pump. Second is solar power can be used for running centrifugal pumps and not the ones with piston. So both the statement in this case is incorrect, because solar power, once you are able to generate power energy, it can be used for running both surface pumps as well as submersible pumps, and also it can be used for running centrifugal pumps as well as the piston based pump. 11th question is again with related to agriculture, where it is asked that in context of India, which of the following is considered to be the practices of eco-friendly agriculture? Crop diversification, legume intensification, tensiometer uses, and vertical farming. So in this case, again, all the four, 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be considered to be eco-friendly practice or eco-friendly agriculture. Obviously, crop diversification promotes polyculture rather than monoculture, and that is how what happens, overall nutrient balance in the soil is maintained. For example, if you're cultivating rice, in next season you're cultivating pulses, and again in next season you are cultivating rice. Or if you talk about it within the same season itself, in some areas, if you're cultivating rice, pulses, some sorts of grasses and rice, then overall nutrient balance of soil will be maintained. And that is a practice which is considered as part of eco-friendly agriculture. Second is talk about legume intensification. So legumes are plant that help in absorbing nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil. So the availability of or intensification of legume will help in decreasing the amount of fertilizer that you will require for cropping in the next season, because the nitrogen that has been lost in the earlier agriculture seasons will be restored if you are able to put legumes in the ground. So that is how it is also example of eco-friendly agriculture, because it is minimizing the fertilizer use. Third is tensiometer. Now tensiometer is an instrument that is used to measure the soil moisture. So obviously if you are able to use tensiometer in the ground in your agricultural land, you'll be able to know that what exactly, how much amount of water the crops exactly needs, and will not be indulging yourself in the practices of over irrigation, which is becoming a very big problem, especially in the northern states of India. Because if you are practicing over irrigation, then there will be a problem of the salinity. There will be increase in the salinity of the soil, and a longer period of time, this increased salinity will cause we can say decrease in the crop yield. So that is also not eco-friendly agriculture. Fourth is vertical farming. Obviously, in case of India, where the land uses are continuously being converted from agricultural land to some other kind of land, and there is a high or increase in the pressure on the given agricultural land, vertical farming can be a good practice of eco-friendly agriculture. Because if you are able to grow crops vertically, the pressure on the land will decrease, and will not have to indulge ourselves in using a lot of insecticides, pesticides, or high yielding variety of seeds which are not very eco-friendly in nature. So all the four, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are correct option. The next question is again related to agriculture, where the question has been asked that what is the advantages of fertigation in agriculture? So what is fertigation? So first of all, fertigation is made up of two words. The first is fertilizer and the second is irrigation. So basically fertigation refer to practice where the fertilizers are mixed in the irrigation water, and then via micro irrigation they are made available to the crops. So what is the advantage of mixing fertilizer and water and carrying the practices of fertigation? First is controlling the alkalinity of irrigation water is possible. Second is efficient application of rock phosphate and all other phosphatic fertilizers is possible. Third is increased availability of nutrients to plant is possible. And fourth is reduction in the leaching of chemical nutrients is possible. So in this question, the correct option is C, 1, 3, and 4 only. Second is incorrect, because basically it has been referred. When you are carrying out fertigation, you have to make sure that do not mix such kind of fertilizer which can form precipitates with the content of the water. And in the case of phosphatic fertilizer, it has been observed that the phosphatic fertilizer react with the content of water, and along with the anhydrous ammonia, they form a precipitate, and that is why it is not suitable for the fertigation practices. Apart from that, all the other three, the alkalinity of irrigation water can be controlled, obviously, because you're adding fertilizers in that. Increased availability of nutrient to plant is possible because you are directly applying fertilizer to roots of each of the plants along the water. And reduction in the leaching of chemical nutrients is also possible because you are making available the fertilizers to each of the crops in a very limited manner, controlled manner, and as per their requirement. So correct option is C, 1, 3. Third is related to economic geography, where the question has been asked about the minerals, that out of these four given minerals, which of these are officially designated as a major minerals? So in this question, the correct answer is D. Apart from bentonite, all the other three, chromite, kyanite, and sillimanite, are example of major minerals. So let us try to understand what is major minerals or minor minerals. So according to the MMDR Act, the government of India has clearly mentioned that any minerals which include building stones, gravel, ordinary clay, ordinary sand, other than the sand used for prescribed purposes, and any other central government notified minerals can be considered as a minor minerals. On the other hand, major minerals are those which are clearly specified in the first schedule appended in MMDR Act 1957 and are commonly major minerals are lignite, coal, uranium, iron ore, gold, etc. As far as the minor minerals are concerned, center has the power to notify any other mineral as minor mineral under the MMDR Act. So as we can see, minor minerals are generally building stones, gravels, ordinary clay, and ordinary sand. And bentonite is basically nothing but is absorbent aluminum phyllosilicate clay. It is a type of clay named after Fort Benton, who was a person in Wyoming, where its largest sources are found, and its other name, Mont Morillonite clay, stems from the region of France called as Mont Morillon, where it was first found. So that is why bentonite is a type of clay, and as we have discussed, clay is a type of minor mineral. So the correct option is D, 2, 3, and 4 only. 14th question is related to the climatology or oceanography with reference to the ocean mean temperature. Which of the following statement is correct? OMT is measured up to a depth of 26 degrees Celsius isotherm, which is 129 meters in southwestern Indian Ocean during January-March. And second is OMT collected during January-March can be used in assessing whether the amount of rainfall in the monsoon will be less or more than a certain long-term mean. Now, this particular term was in news because it has been mentioned in an article that was published in the Hindu newspaper in somewhere in the year 2018. So the question source can be traced back to the particular paper. Now, as far as the correct answer is concerned, so only second option or second statement is correct one. The first statement is incorrect. The first statement is correct because if you look at the OMT, OMT is definitely measured up to a depth of 26 degrees Celsius isotherm. However, the depth up to which it is measured is somewhere between 50 to 100 meters. However, on the other hand, if you look at the question, it is given that it is measured at 129 meters depth. So obviously, this is incorrect option. Second is obviously the data that is collected under OMD collection. It can be used in assessing whether the amount of rainfall in monsoon will be less or more than a certain long-term mean. Earlier, SST, that is sea surface temperature, was routinely used for predicting the amount of rainfall. But scientists from the Pune's Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology have found that the ocean mean temperature, which is analyzed measuring the ocean thermal energy during the January-March period, can better predict the Indian summer monsoon as compared to its earlier data that we get from the sea surface temperature. And that is why sea surface temperature is largely being OMT is largely being used to replace the sea surface temperature data so that we can have a better understanding of the monsoonal rainfall. So that is the correct option is B. The 15th question is related to the chemical fertilizers in India. Consider the following statement. At present, the retail price of chemical fertilizer is market driven and is not administered by government. Ammonia, which is an input of urea, is produced from natural gas, and sulfur, which is a raw material for phosphoric acid fertilizer, is a byproduct of oil refineries. The correct option is B. 2 and 3 is the only correct option, a correct statement. The first statement is incorrect because the retail price of chemical fertilizer is administered by government, especially if we talk about the urea fertilizer. The price is administered by the government and even subsidies provided if it is being used for the agricultural practices. Second, ammonia, which is an input of urea, is definitely produced from natural gas, and this is the reason you will see that most of the urea fertilizer production industries are situated closer to the natural gas plants or closer to the natural gas pipelines because the availability of raw materials is very easier if the fertilizer plant is situated to the nearby to natural gas plant or natural gas pipeline. So ammonia obviously is produced from natural gas, and then via Haber's process it is used for production of the urea acid. Third is sulfur, which is used to produce phosphoric acid fertilizer, is byproduct of oil refinery. This is also correct, because when the crude oil or natural gas is obtained from the ground, it has large amount of sulfur as impurities, and thus to remove these impurities of sulfur, first of all the crude oil and natural gas is sent in a fractionating column, and then the sulfur is removed, and then this sulfur can be used as raw material for the phosphoric acid fertilizer. So both second and third statement is correct statement. 16th question again is related to Indian geography. It is a map based question where the location of Siachen glacier has been asked. Where Siachen glacier is exactly situated? East of Aksai Chin, east of Leh, north of Gilgit, or north of Nubra Valley. So correct option is D, that is situated to the north of Nubra Valley. If we look at the map of India, this is where the Siachen glacier is located. Now Aksai Chin, if you look at that, Siachen glacier is situated not to the east but to the west of Aksai Chin. If we take a look at the Leh region, so Leh region is somewhere around here. So again, Siachen glacier is situated to the north of Leh, not the east of Leh. North of Gilgit again is incorrect, because Gilgit-Baltistan is this region. So Siachen is situated to the east of Gilgit. But on the other hand, if you look at the north of Nubra, so Nubra Valley basically is carved out by a river that actually originates from Siachen glacier itself. Nubra river is a very important tributary of the Indus river that is flowing across the east to west extent of the entire Jammu Kashmir region, and thus the correct answer is obviously to the north of Siachen glacier we have the north of Nubra Valley we have a Siachen glacier. So D is the correct answer. The last question was asked related to the field of climatology, where it has been asked that jet streams occur in northern hemisphere only. Only some cyclones develop an eye, and the temperature inside the eye of cyclone is nearly 10 degrees Celsius lesser than that of the surrounding. Now here the first statement is incorrect, because jet streams are winds that are blowing at a higher elevation of 10 to 12 kilometers, and they are found in both northern hemisphere as well as southern hemispheres. Two types of jet stream, that is polar jet stream and subtropical jet streams, are found both in the northern and southern hemisphere. Second is only some cyclones develop night. This is correct. Cyclones basically can be characterized into two types. We have tropical cyclone and we have temperate cyclones. So only tropical cyclones develop an ice. In temperate cyclones, we do not see any kind of eye formation. Third statement is the temperature inside the eye of the cyclone. Since we are talking about the eye of cyclone, that means we are basically talking about the tropical cyclone. So it is nearly 10 degrees Celsius lesser than that of the surrounding. Now this is again an incorrect statement, because the temperature inside the eye of cyclone is higher than that of the surrounding. It is not lesser, and that is why due to high temperature, air start to rise in the upward direction, creating a low pressure area that causes a strong circulation of wind around this low pressure area, leading to the formation of the cyclone. If the temperature inside the eye of cyclone is less than that of surrounding, it will lead to formation of anticyclone, not cyclone. So the correct option is obviously C. Second is the only correct statement. Other two statements are wrong. So that is all about the questions that has been asked from the field of geography. As you can see, most question in that particular year has been asked from the field of agriculture, and then the question has been asked from the map-based question from world and Indian geography, and we have the question that has been asked from the minerals also. So we have a mixture of questions. So that is all for this particular video. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you.